What's up, y'all? Back for episode 15 of our full site build. Today we're going to build out the Contact Us section here, which is the last one on this page. Let's go ahead and dive into Etch. Going to launch this on the front end. All right, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, add in a new section. We're going to call this CTA Contact section. I know it's a little bit long, but I want to differentiate it from maybe when we get to our content page, or contact page, sorry. Inside here, going to add in my section intro, and you can see in the latest version of Etch here, which I have updated to beta 11, our component is a little bit different here. We now have a search and a scroll bar here. So I'm going to go ahead and select my section intro. I'm going to move that up above our inner. Let's go ahead and scroll down on here and get our data. So in our section intro, we want this to be Contact Us. We want this to be here with plumbing problems inside of our span. All right, so we got our span in there. Let's grab our lead. Put our lead in. And I'm going to come back and change my theme here in a little bit. We may have to adjust this a little bit so it can be a little bit bigger here. Let's take a look at what we need next. Inside of our inner, we're going to need a content wrapper for our cards here, a button wrapper, which I will use the same one that we did here, and a paragraph element at the bottom. So in here, I'm going to add in a div. You'll also notice that the flex div has been removed from our element section here in this version of Etch because of the new CSS quick action panel. It makes it a little bit easier to change that into a flex item with one click. So they removed that for now. All right, so inside the inner, I also want to go up and grab my CTA. I put that inside of a card, so maybe I will grab that from the top here in my hero section again. This is my CTA wrapper. I'm going to copy that, come down inside of my inner, hit paste. You can see we have both of those. And then also inside of here, I need a paragraph element. Okay, I'm going to call this our content wrapper. And let's go ahead and BEM class this, because inside of my, I don't want to BEM these cards yet, because those will be on their own. I do want to make them into a list still, so let's actually add in another div, because I'll just make this my UL, this my LI, and I'll call this a list item. And maybe I'll call this actually my list wrapper instead. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead up here, right click, BEM class, and you can also see that they have some different styling on our panels that we can set defaults here to sizing. So I'm gonna drag that over. I'm gonna hit save to make sure it saves. All right. First thing I want to do on my background, or put in my background on this, and it should be my secondary. And for that, I need to now go up to my component, and we're going to change this to primary. So now we can see we're getting the white text and the primary color on the spans to match what we have going on here. All right. Let's go down to our inner, and on this we are going to want to set this to a flex row, top, center, so our text comes to the center here. For my callout text, I want to change the color of this to white, and let's go ahead and put the text in there. Perfect. Back on my inner, I want to set my gap on this to my container gap. Perfect. Not sure why that keeps happening to me. Let's try that again. There we go. Sometimes it stays open on me, and sometimes it doesn't. All right, on here we need to double check our spacing on this. Set it to center. Actually, we want them to be next to each other, center and center. Okay, I'm happy with that. Again, hopefully they will take the previous styling, and they are not. So we'll have to mess around with that down here. But for right now, I'm going to leave that. This I do want to set to text align center as well. And let's come into our list item for now. And I'm going to add in a div. Inside my div, we're going to need an icon and some text. This is going to be a pretty simple card. And I'm actually going to put my text first and then my icon. I'm going to call this, I think, a call out card. I don't think I've used that yet. Just want to double check. I've not. I'm not going to use a heading on these just because I don't think that is going to be the proper semantics on that. And because it's just a text call out here. Call that call out text and icon. And from here, I'm going to right click and BEM class. And for our color on these, we are using secondary medium again on that. So we'll go secondary light for our background, I think. Let's add a custom value in here, secondary and var secondary. I'm going to do that, add it, and then I can change this to light, semi-light. Have to go up and see. I know we used different color up here, which is that is inside of a card. So or inside of a component. So let me double check what I did on this. Inspect. On my process card, I used semi-dark on that one. So we're going to use the same thing down here. So the reasoning the coloring is not one-to-one here is because we're in the process of, or the team is in the process of updating to version 4.0 for automatic CSS. There's still, the stable version is 3.x. So when you're using the Figma plugin, it doesn't match perfectly because they refactored all of the colors and everything. So that's why in here I have a medium color, but inside my builder I do not. So I just have to play around slightly with what we're using on that, and in this case it's going to be the semi-dark. For my card, I want this to be a flex column. I'm going to go top and center, and I need content gap on that, and I need some spacing. Let's take a look at what we have for spacing on this. I don't want gap, I want to see space XS. Okay, perfect. I'm going to take the fallbacks off of this. Okay, we have that done. My gap actually should be smaller as well. What did we have for our gap? Or sorry, our padding was space X and our gap is XS. I'm just going to copy this, make my life a little bit easier so I don't have to retype that. And this should be S. Make that slightly bigger. And then I need my border radius on this as well. All right, so we got that in there. The basis of the card should be good. My callout text needs to be a color of white. We got that done, and I want to also change out the font weight. 700 is not what I want, but I think it was probably 600. And let's go ahead and put some of our example text in here. And onto the icon, I want to remove the color. I'm going to put my first one in, which is the clock icon. Our sizing on this is 20. Inline size to rem of 20 pixels. And you can see it drops it down nice and small. We want our color to be our secondary color, or sorry, primary. And that didn't solve it on this icon, so we can add in our fill, and that changes it. All right, and then on the icon, I'm also going to go order of -1 on that, and it pushes it to the top. Let's hit save. Take a look. That all looks pretty good. I think what I want to potentially do is, actually I'm not going to play with the sizing on the actual card itself. That's going to come from up here because we're going to make this into a grid. And just to start, I'm going to go grid template columns of grid 4. And I'm not sure why that's not getting full size. So inline size of 100%. So you can see my card gets a little bit wider there. Let's take a look here again. And as far as my content width, that doesn't actually take up the full width. So I think maybe what we'll do is put in a max inline size of 2 rem, and we'll go 1,000 pixels, not 100. And additionally on this, we want our gap to be space of XS. It's going to be a smaller one, and let's duplicate this out 4 times. Pretty happy with that. The only thing we need to adjust now is going to be our responsiveness of it. All right, so back up to my list wrapper. I'm going to click the has me and container query. And I'm going to start adjusting this down. And I'm thinking under 825 is where maybe where we'll start to change our grid item. So I'm going to take the grid column 4, take that off, put that here. I'm going to duplicate my container query, and then I'm going to add in another size to rem of, start with 500 for now, we'll come back to that in a moment, is greater than or equal to, and this needs to be less than. And we'll change that to 2. So you can see it drops to 2 there. And once it gets down to 500, it's going to go to individual, which I think will work nicely. And I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. Let's swap out our data on these. I suppose I can make these into components as well. I don't know that I'm going to need them later, but let's go ahead and do it for fun. Because we don't know if we'll end up using them again later on down the road. So let's go ahead and just do it. I'm going to need a text and media for now. This one's going to be icon, and this one's going to be call out. Target that, and my icon is going to be props.icon. I'm going to hit save and exit. So for this one, I need to set the clock here, and same day service. I don't remember if that was capitalized. It was. Okay. And we need 4 more of these, so I can duplicate this total of 4 times. My next one going to be upfront pricing with the $sign. Let's find that in here. Next one is going to be work guaranteed with the shield. And the last one will be 30-minute response time with the phone. And there we are. As I said, we need to double check our responsiveness on our wrapper here. You'll notice that our CSS panel is not keeping that same width. I think that's something that they will fix eventually here, because that is a little bit annoying that it is changing on us. All right, so let's copy this over. And we want this to be center. So as we scroll down, eventually they're going to stack just like above. And there we are. You notice these ones ended up stacking a little sooner, and that's okay. All right, I am pretty happy with that. I think one thing I want to do is double check my section intro here. Let's go ahead and edit that. For my main lead here, we have a max inline size of 40. I think I'm going to change that to 60. We won't be able to see it quite yet here. And then on our marketing headline, I think I want to do a max inline size of 80 ch. We'll have to see how these look here on the front end. Seems a little bit better. I want to inspect this and play around. Maybe we go 60, 50, 40, 30. Let's see what happens on the rest of these. I like 30. One other thing you'll notice here is I have to go back in and make some adjustments to both my header and my footer. There's some extra spacing in there now. So I'm going to double check this, and I think we said it was 30 on here. Yep, 30. So I'm gonna make sure that matches down here. I'm gonna hit save. We can exit our component. I'm gonna save my page. We're good there. I'm gonna go into my templates and my index file. And on my header, I'm gonna have to edit this component. Inside here, what they did is, if I go back to the front end here, I can show you guys. We inspect again, and they added this property right here to add some block padding and inline padding automatically to the header. So what we'll have to do is just take those out, so that way our padding around here is not affected. So we'll go block, padding block of 0, and padding inline of 0, and that fixes my header there. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to hit save. Because now I want to come down, or I'm going to have to exit that first. My apology. And on my footer, we're going to end up doing very similar. All right, so I need to go padding block end of 0 because I already have some padding set up in here. So my gutter is fine and my padding block start I already had set, but the block end I did not. So that was being overridden by that new item. Let's exit, save, refresh, and our header is back to how we started. All right, let's double check bottom here, and my footer is back to what I expected as well. So that concludes the build out of our entire homepage. In the next video, I'm not sure exactly what I plan to tackle yet. I know we talked a little bit about looking at all the coloring. I may do that in my next video. I also talked about building out the form a little bit better and styling that, so maybe we'll go there. But other than that, there's not much else to do on any of these pages, or on this page specifically. So maybe we'll get into one of the templates for our services over here, or maybe we'll do the get quote page. Again, I'm not positive exactly what we'll do, but we'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this. If you've enjoyed the series, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't. Drop a comment below if you have questions about anything or you want to see something different. I hope you guys have appreciated these, and we'll see you in the next video.